What is up, maniacs, and welcome to WMMAnia. This is episode 41. I'm your host, as always, Drake Riggs, here to provide you with the latest and greatest in the world of mixed martial arts when it comes to the ladies specifically. Thank you so much for joining us here a little bit earlier today. I know things have been all over the place, so I do apologize. Trying to get it under control. There's a lot going on, outside factors, outside noises and whatnot, so we're trying to compensate, make things as smooth as they can be, but still we do the best we can with the good old fun show that we have in the good old time. So I appreciate you joining me here if you are early as we are right now, and who knows, this might be a potential new time. Don't want it to be, but we shall see. Either way, we're here on Tuesday, and we'll be recapping one on Prime Video 5, as well as 164 from this past Friday. And then there was a big old UFC Orlando show, so that was good fun there as well. No news today, nothing to speak of in the news department. And then we'll be previewing Bellator 289, so it is actually going to be a pretty light load for this Tuesday here, December 6th, as we get ready for the UFC 282 has no women's fights this week, so that event is obviously going down. It is fight week for that event, but nothing to talk about there. So just Bellator still in the show, as you can see in our cover image today. There we go, rematch and some important flyweight fights. So that is what we will be getting into here momentarily as we roll on. So, how is everybody doing? I know that, like I said a little bit earlier, so I'm going to give it some time, of course, before the notification bell does its job. So, for those of you who may be here reoccurring or for the first time, don't forget, you can visit MMAnia.com for all your MMA needs, and don't forget to follow us, like, share, and subscribe on all our platforms. And that notification bell is really handy here on YouTube, so you don't miss a thing whenever we're live. It'll let you know. It'll come to you rather than you having to go out of your way and look for whatever types of content that we're dropping. I don't know if the notification bell works for non-live videos too, but if it does, then there you go. I know that it does work for the live ones for sure, but either way, that's what the subscribe button's for. All these things can help you stay all locked in to everything going on at MMAnia.com. But anyway, let's just get right on into things then, shall we, with one on Prime Video number 5, which kicked things off this past weekend. The kick things off in terms of the action doubleheader. One likes to do those with these Prime cards, so they got one more out of the way for 2022. Just one MMA fight at atomweight, 115 pounds. Denise Zambawanga defeats Lynn Hashin, the Chin, via split decision. As you can see right there. So this was an incredibly competitive fight, and over at SCMP, I was a part of the kind enough to be allowed to join them once again for a fight companion. So we were watching this one as it happened. You can go and see it over there. Very competitive fight, very fun fight. A lot of people felt that once again, All Hashin was on the wrong end of a decision, which I believe is very fair to say. I would have edged it in her direction as well. But it was very close. The biggest surprise to me in this one was the fact that Denise did not really go after her takedowns as much as maybe she should have, to just make it clearer than it was. Still did some fine work on the feet, was able to box up Hashin a little bit there, especially early on. But then, she was able to Hashin, that is, was able to find her distance as she does with that great length, get off her kicks, threw some patented side kicks there, but never landed anything super clean. Some teeps and front kicks to the chest and whatnot. As you can see, she was trying to do that every now and then by the image here. And then Denise was able to counter it, though, with some good right hands and punches and whatnot. But she looked pretty comfortable on the feet as well, was timing things nicely and just finding ways inside of Hashin's range to land her shots, perhaps better in some instances. But Hashin, when she popped off the jab, that was pretty nice, but I don't think she used it as enough or as much as she needed to, which ultimately could have ended up costing her. I mean, one judge thought it was enough regardless, as I think I did, but it was very, very close. I did not think this was a robbery. They both hurt each other pretty bad in that first round. That was kind of the one where I think you determine or have to decide who you think did more damage to the other person. And I mean, it was that jab that hurts Denise from Lynn, right? That was the thing that hurt her at the end of the round there. And I just kind of, I think I edged it to her, maybe not because of that, but if you were to go round by round, I think Denise came on strong in the second, would have taken that portion, and then round 3, Lynn, if I remember correctly. It might have been flip-flopped, but either way, they kind of had each of their time spans of success, with the first round both doing some damage and being the most intriguing of the first of the fight to look at and assess in terms of the overall scoring criteria that they implement over there in One Championship. So, yeah, fun fight, not a robbery. Big time bummer for Lynn Hashin. She was very disappointed, speaking afterwards, saying that she is not wanting to go to the judges anymore after her last 2 fights. And that is very understandable, considering the Itsuki Hirata loss before this one, which you could argue wasn't as close. I think that's probably fair to say. This was a much more competitive fight, actually, than the Hirata loss. But we won't go back to that one right now. So that was one on Prime Video 5. Fun overall event. I mean, all the events this past weekend were pretty darn fun, actually. But yeah, just one fight there in the MMA scape. As we get on to the next, which not a lot to talk about here. Didn't give us much time, good old Mungbo, as that UFC, 164 in the strawweight division. They're 125-pound strawweights. Mungbo defeated Jenilyn Olsum via first-round knockout, punch, and some absolutely hellacious elbows in just 24 seconds. This shouldn't say that she defeated her. This was an absolute steamrolling. She ran almost literally through Jenilyn Olsum. I mean, this was about as Mungbo of a Mungbo performance that you could have asked for and, gotten. There's really not much to say about it. They each threw like a leg kick, traded one early, and then Mung got off that devastating right hand that just went straight, punched with full force completely through Olsum. She drops. Mungbo follows her down, does the kind of, grab you by the throat choke, at least around the chin area, and then just nasty, nasty elbows, which like instantly provided some swelling to Jenilyn's face and to kind of eye region. Don't know if there was a broken orbital in there, but I wouldn't be surprised. They were pretty devastating shots. And I would pull that one up here. I mean, we can watch the whole fight, really. It was not too long, but yeah, very, very nice stuff from Mungbo. Really nothing bad to say about it, aside from the fact that she missed weight again. That's the only thing that is a problem here, because Mungbo missed by like 5 pounds. Don't know what is going on with her weight issues, especially since she moved up from 115, moved back up to 125. 5 pound miss. That is a big one. She completely completely sabotaged herself of a would-be bonus, would be 50,000. No way she would not have gotten that, especially as Chatri's handed him out like candy on Halloween. So that's a bummer for her, but still a phenomenal win nonetheless. Can't really go wrong with anything under 30 seconds. And that was yeah, hopefully we could see her turn around right quick and get on, maybe the first card of 2023 or something, because that was no damage for her, just dishing it out. So great stuff there from Mungbo. You love to see it. Can't really go wrong with one of the hardest hitters out there worldwide. She continues to prove it pretty much every time that we see her, for the most part. So Mungbo keeps on keeping on. Well, gets back in the win column, I should say. Doesn't keep on keeping on. She was struggling there for a bit. Had the Ritu loss in the tournament, and then the Tiffany Teo one in her return to 125. So, yes, precisely how that went. But anyway, then we move on over to the stateside and good old Florida for UFC Orlando, which great to have crowds back. It makes you just want to stay out of the Apex permanently, which I think we're trending in that direction. I'm not sure even how many Apex events are booked for like the first half or the first portion of 2023, but let's try and make it as limited as possible, because just having these crowds is too good, and it just makes the show better, makes the feel of everything more important, which I guess you could credit as a help from the Apex at this point. But it's just a normal thing. That was normal. Let's make it normal again. Anyway, we did lose a fight, though. We were supposed to have Tracy Cortez and Amanda Hebus on here, so that's a bummer. We lost that one, but the other two still delivered pretty well in certain ways, as the first one we'll talk about here was at strawweight. Angela Hill defeated Emily Ducote in a very clear-cut 30-27 shutout. My goodness, this was incredibly disappointing from Emily Ducote's end, and I'm sure that she feels the same way. Don't really know what happened. I mean, talking about it last week, we knew, and I mean, it's the case always with Angela Hill, her movement, her volume are keys to her victory. Knew that was going to be the case, again here, but I didn't think it was going to be as successful, really, as it was in this matchup against Emily Ducote, who just kind of, she's very patient, been very methodical, just a very smart fighter since becoming champion in Invicta, and going to 115, really taking her time and patience. But I guess a little bit too much so in this one when you're going against somebody like Hill, who can really ramp things up, or at least hold that pace for the consistency of 3 rounds, and then you run out of time once you're maybe, I don't want to say she wasn't comfortable or ready to go or anything, but just got chipped away the entire time. As you can see, a whopping 190 landed to 76, and then even the output just of what was thrown, 353 from Hill. My goodness, to a 178 from Ducote. Kind of crazy there. If you look at round by round, 50-21, 68-16, it just wasn't close. It was not close on the numbers. It wasn't close just watching it. Angela Hill just kind of threw essentially whatever she wanted and was able to land it. Had some good body work. You have even her knees in the clinch and whatnot. I know we talked about him in the last fight with Lupi Godinez to prevent the takedowns. Excuse me. It is earlier, like I said. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really too bad to say about Angela Hill's performance here. This was exactly what she needed to do, shut down her opponent. And Ducote, I think this could be good for her, though, to realize that, all right, maybe this patient approach obviously helped and worked, getting her all the success that she's had. but she can learn from it and take away things for how to adjust and kind of counter these types of opponents going forward, because there are some other fighters obviously who throw a good bit of volume in the strawweight division as you continue to climb up the ranks. Even a fighter we're about to talk about here in the next fight throws a good amount of volume, and she's not ranked yet, but she 100% will be someday. So, and by the time that Emily decided to kind of try and take things down too, it was a little bit too late. And even if we tried earlier, I think Hill looked pretty prepared for it. There just wasn't enough to bother Angie, I think, was the thing from Dakota. She just could not find her timing, I guess, and way around everything that was coming her way, which was a lot. So colossal bummer for Emily Dakota. Big fan of hers. Think she isn't done just yet, but especially when we've seen her learn and come back from worse moments. But this one stings for her. So, but congrats to Angela Hill, who keeps on keeping on. That's someone who keeps on keeping on and sticking around for as long as they possibly can. Well, she has the record now for, I think, most female wins in the UFC, which is kind of I don't know if that's crazy. She's been very active and been around since the start of the division, so I don't know if that's actually all that crazy. But yeah, we'll see what she does next. And you know what? This will lead right into things. We can tie these two fights in together. So I will hold that thought I was about to present you with, but I wouldn't be mad at the direction here that I can take, which I will take momentarily after we talk about how gosh darn amazing Yasmin Haraguay continues to look as she defeats Estela Nunes, second round TKO. My goodness. She is just a shark, man. Just absolutely blood smelling. When it's in the water, pedal to the metal, overwhelming, nonstop. You name it. Every word you could use there to describe how she kind of attacks people. You can do that. Because that's what this was. I mean, a scary first round there. She got actually clipped and rocked, hurt pretty bad by Nunes. Looked like she went straight out as she was falling down from that shot she took. I think it was a big right hand, but was able to rally, make it kind of close the gap at the end of the first round. I think that she probably still lost it, but she overcame the adversity, which was a big deal and important to see. Probably the worst moment I can recall in her 10 fight undefeated career now. The worst moment she's had to get through. So good to get it out of the way and then come back a little bit, or at least rally the way that she did. And her just combinations are just so relentless. She's just relentless in general. Obviously, people looking at her as more of a striker than a grappler, which is 100% safe to say. But that's a pretty good grounded pound when she gets you down or you're on the ground, as we saw here. Was able to stun Nunes several times before getting her to the ground and then thumping away, just landing every shot that she could have needed to until it wasn't enough. You maybe could have stopped it sooner. I think it was probably fine, but either way, she was just not gonna let up. She is, like I said, a shark. I think that is the best way to describe. That could be a new nickname even, but know that there is someone else with a shark nickname in the division as well. Don't want to steal any nicknames and what have you, but Yasmin Haraguay, if you've been following her, we've known she's going to be the future. She's still just 23. My goodness. Yes, incredibly talented. Does a lot of things very well for this stage in her career. Has some great power, overwhelming volume and power. She has kind of that dangerous combination of where everything's sharp, everything's tight. It hurts. Not to say Angela Hills, for example, doesn't hurt, but you can see who has more power between the two. And Yasmin lands at a very high rate to boot, which that accumulation of damage is always worse. Always hurts a bit more when the shots by themselves are enough to put you away on a singular shot, is how I'm trying to describe that. But what I was going to get at on the last fight here was, it would be quick. I'm not trying to rush anybody. I never want to rush anybody for the most part, but especially when we know Yasmin, at some point, whether she loses along the way or not, she will eventually be a top 10 fighter. She could very well lose on the way there, like I said, but I wouldn't be mad if you matched her with Angela Hill next. That would be. I mean, Angela Hill, we know at this point, despite looking, very good in her last two fights, actually, Dakota and then Loopy. We know her ceiling. She's not going to be a champion at this point. That's just how it is. I mean, these fights that she just had were pretty much gatekeeper fights, honestly. Dakota and Loopy trying to rise through the division, and then she holds it off, sets them back for a bit there. It'd be the same thing against Yasmin. I think she should just stay in that role. But the problem is, though, let's say they did make the fight, and as fun as it would be, say Yasmin wins, which I think she definitely could. She would do better than Dakota did. Not that that's saying too much at this juncture, but then there's the problem of, all right, well, now maybe we kind of have to get her climbing the ranks because she beat a name like Angela Hill, someone who has been a perennial top 15er, in the back of it. So that's the only problem. Excuse me again. That's the only problem with that. I think it would be a great test, a great fight, all that stuff. But it presents you with the problem of where you go next. But I'd like to see it. I'm sure we will see it at some point. Maybe if she gets I don't know, it depends on how long you want to wait before pulling that trigger with Yasmin. But two fights into the UFC already, 2 victories. I don't know. You could wait 2 more wins. It depends. It depends on how UFC generally isn't too good at playing the long game, depending on who you are. Doing it with Natty Silva right now, which I like to see. And so far, they have started off good doing this with Yasmin. But it's like, when do they get ahead of themselves, especially if she continues to look pretty great like this? I don't know. I might say 2 more wins against unranked people before a ranked opponent, which, I mean, you'd really build her up as a serious, scary threat, undefeated fighter, potentially, assuming she won, of course, if you did that. So I think that that would probably be best case scenario for her because, again, there's no rush. There is no rush whatsoever. She's 23 years old. So yeah, it's like, what more could you ask for by doing that? But anyway, you guys, that is it for the recaps today. The one doubleheader in UFC Orlando. Good stuff. Good weekend of action. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. So with that in mind, we have no news, like I said, but we do have Bellator 289 today. Not today. Bellator 289 preview today. So we'll be talking about the 3 fights that we got coming up this weekend, this Friday, back in the Mohegan Sun, Uncasville, Connecticut. Kind of Bellator's version of the Apex, if you will. Not exactly, but essentially it is. So kicking things off, we have they're all flyweight fights. No featherweight action on this card. No special strawweights or anything of the sort. But first and foremost, we have the return of Randy Field as she takes on Christina Katsakis. Randy Field, if you'll remember, I did a big old feature with her. Great story here on WMMAnia.com. Go check that out. If you just look up Randy Field's name, I'm pretty sure it should pop up. Or you could do Randy Field MMA Mania in the old Google. You'll find it. Check it out. That was a very good, fun story. Well, a good story. I don't know if I would say fun. It was very deep. There's some dark elements of it, of course, but a good one. A great, enjoyable personality is Randy. And she's a very fun fighter as well. So looking forward to her fighting all the time. And in this one here with Katsikis, it kind of makes you think, or excuse me, when you look at it a little bit, Katsikis, just one fight in Bellator, 1-2, and that loss was to Sumiko Inaba. Randy Field has also fought Sumiko. She lost to Sumiko, her only professional loss. Bellator is kind of doing this thing, it appears, where, I mean, we can always kind of smell out when things are a little bit obvious. And in this case, you know, Randy's minus 250, plus to the plus 210. And this is a slow build again, like talking about Yasmin. This is their version of that a little bit. Just it's maybe a little bit more obvious who they're kind of giving not an advantage to, but who's the favorite, rightfully favored person. But what I was getting at here specifically with Randy is I feel like she's going, and I know it's maybe not fair to say because it's only one fight, but she's following directly in the path of Sumiko taking on, you know, her leftovers as Sumiko has climbed the ranks and has been fantastic, undefeated so far, knocking off people that she, for the most part, should not have been fighting. But like, you know, literally in the case here of Christina, which this was nearly a 2-year ago fight. They bring her back to feed her to Randy, essentially. Like, I think it's safe. We'll see how that goes. But before that, Mariah Miller, who, you know, limited amount of experience there, was just 1-0. Sumiko fight before then. And yeah, that was also Randy's Bellator debut. But with Randy, sorry, excuse me, guys. The throat's acting up here. She will be down an inch in both height and reach. Don't think that should matter too much. She's a very, very tenacious, very scrappy fighter. Can box pretty well, packs some pretty good power, but she mixes it up and will take the fight to the ground if she needs to. I mean, kind of what happened there in the Mariah Miller fight. She was throwing down on the feet before getting it to the ground, finding the back, and getting the old rear naked chokeski, I believe, in the second round, but it doesn't say right here at this exact moment. And for Katsikis, you know, she got completely overwhelmed by the striking of Sumiko when they did fight. I believe that one was also in Oklahoma. So for Randy, I think you try and replicate that one. There's the layoff here playing into things as well. 1 year and 5 months. Inactivity never helps nobody. I think if she just gets in her face, pressures her, kind of does what she typically does, it's a pretty tailor-made matchup for her. Whether that was intentional or not, we cannot say, but Randy Field fights are always fun fights. And we have a great nickname battle, though. Rose City Phoenix versus the Meat Grinder, which is kind of funny because I think the Meat Grinder will be the one getting put through the Meat Grinder, perhaps, in this one to an extent. But that's why we watch, to find out. So that is your first of 3 flyweight fights this weekend at Bellator 289. Looking forward to it. As we get to, those are kind of the prospects, right? Obviously, climbing to make their names and ways up in the division. But then we have some former champs / currently ranked fighters in the former Bellator kickboxing champ. RIP to the kickboxing league. Denise Kiholtz, as she takes on Ilara Joanne. This fight was announced like 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. They might have even. I know we talked about it on the show here very recently, within the last 2 weeks for sure. Sorry, guys. Ugh. Yeah, this time is no good. I'm too tired at this hour, so we're gonna try not to do this regularly from here on out. But yes, Denise Kiholtz, Ilara Joanne. I'm excited for this one. I think it's a very fun matchup. The daughters of Kana Watanabe, as we like to say, because they both have recent losses to Kana. What their last losses, right? Or no, technically the Vanessa Porto one for Joanne, which was, I think that might have been a robbery. We were talking robberies last week. That felt pretty clear for, as much as I love Porto, I think that was a Joanne victory. But then the last fight for Denise was the Kana loss. And then before that, Velasquez. So no shame in either of those at all, especially to the champ there, which was for the title. And some people think even Denise should have won. Obviously, it's a split. So there you have it. But Joanne getting back in the win column in her last fight against Lara. Good performance there. And now she's the underdog again, though, at plus 135 to Keyholtz's minus 160. I think those odds are about right. They are the same height. Keyholtz has 2 inches on the reach. Miss Dynamite can pack a wallop. She is one of the more, the kickboxing background helps a whole lot, right? Even though that's not her legitimate background. That's just kind of, it is a background, one of her backgrounds, right? She's very multi-talented, is Denise Keyholtz, because she's also a judo black belt. And I think everybody kind of forgets that because of the fact that she is a kickboxing champion, has great striking, shows that off more often than not. It's kind of where she likes to fight, and then she will lean on her judo if she needs to. It's kind of a, back pocket security element to her game. And we kind of have seen that, at least we saw that on her winning streak there, where she was hurting people on the feet more often than not before submitting them. Christina Williams, Sengul there, and then Kate Jackson, she just ended up pounding her out. But she doesn't generally go to that judo well unless super necessary, I guess you could say. Whereas Joanne, she in this fight, she's capable of striking. She's solid in her own right, but you're not going to want to dance with Denise for an extended period of time, if you can help it. So I think Joanne will probably look to get some takedowns, get this fight to the ground, where she's probably more dangerous in throwing submissions up just kind of from out of nowhere, which obviously is what caught Keyholtz last time with the triangle from Kana, but that was kind of a bit of a rare situation, greatly done by Kana. But I could see Joanne pushing the, applying the pressure, and it cost her and gets maybe hip tossed or something. Get some judo throws out of Keyholtz on this one, making her show it off for us, because that's just how Joanne tries to take the fight to her. I could very well see that going down in that fashion. But as long as it's on the feet, I think she's going to eat a healthy serving of kicks, big punches, you name it. Probably get in the clinch, perhaps, and see some elbows. Who knows? Gosh, sorry, guys. Yeah, very tired today. Feels like Monday, but it's Tuesday, isn't it? Oh. So yeah. Great nickname battle again. Miss Dynamite versus Arya Stark. That's fun. I think the best case here for Joanne is to try and get an advantageous position on top, which I think she'll probably be aware of that too. Nobody really likes to play around with Denise Keyholtz's striking, unless your name's Juliana Velasquez, who is a huge flyweight, and even then it was very competitive for her. So Keyholtz can strike with the best of them in the flyweight division. So yeah, looking forward to that one. That should be definitely a very fun fight, an important fight for Keyholtz to not go on a 3-fight losing streak, maintain her position in the rankings. An important fight for Joanne to put back together some momentum of sorts. All that good stuff. But speaking of Juliana Velasquez, the former champ, she's looking to get back her title against Liz Carmouche in their title fight rematch co-main event of Bellator 289 here. Carmouche versus Velasquez 2. The rematch from Hawaii, right? The first one was in Hawaii. After the controversial stoppage at the end of round 4, right? It was round 4. It doesn't say on these quick little blurbs from Tapology, but 7 months ago now, exactly. Kind of crazy. But it was the crucifix, obviously. Elbows from crucifix, punches, whatnot. Very weird. I still kind of feel the same way about it being a give or take kind of situation. And interestingly enough, real quick here, Carmouche, the underdogs still, despite winning last time, plus 155 to minus 185. I mean, it was a very competitive, very fun matchup until it ended. But just looking at that closing sequence again, like, yeah, the round was closing down, winding down. The shots weren't super, damaging, but she was landing them. She was going off. Could more damage have accumulated in that time span? 100%. How much? Hard to say. Was she defending intelligently, though? I think that's what it kind of came down to for Velasquez in that position, like in terms of the stoppage. I think it could have went on. I mean, it was around 15, maybe less seconds until the bell. So that makes it kind of interesting too, but you can't really look at that, I think, in those moments. If you're the ref, I mean, the ref's literally not looking at the moments. You got to be watching the action. So whatever looks right, you do it as it is. You don't judge by the timing. At least I'm sure that's what Mike Beltran was doing and does in general cases. But it was an intelligent defense, which, the thing is with the crucifix position, you literally cannot intelligently defend yourself unless you're, very actively working and able to find your way out of there, which is one of the toughest positions to get out of. And Velasquez simply was not. So you would think that at all costs, she will do her best to not wind up on the ground once again with Liz Carmouche. That seems like a pretty safe bet, doesn't it? And on the feet, she does have the edge. We saw that in the first fight. She's a very, very complete, dangerous striker in her own right. As we just mentioned, was able to hang in there with Denise Kiholtz, who is, one of the best just credentialed fighters on the Bellator roster right there with everything she's got, judo black belt and, her kickboxing credentials and titles and whatnot. But for Velasquez, I think it simply will come down to the least amount of time perhaps spent on her back against Carmouche, because pretty safe to assume she will get taken down again at some point throughout the 5 rounds of this fight, unless she, puts her away early. But Liz Carmouche has never been knocked out, I don't think. Nothing's coming right to mind, though. Obviously, you've got beat by Shevchenko, and, the Rousey one sticks out. She's got, several losses, but I cannot recall a Liz Carmouche stoppage loss. Let me take a gander here. Let's take a peek. I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Davis split, Misha, Davis, Ronda, Kaufman, Marloes. Yeah, it's never happened. It has never happened to Liz Carmouche. Could this be the one? Very well could be. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it necessarily, but I think Velasquez is capable of it. And what? She even dropped her in the first fight, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And Carmouche has been dropped before. She got dropped by that head kick in the round 3 against Caitlin Chikagian. I always remember that one. Survived, though. She's very tough. Very, very tough. Liz Carmouche is one of the toughest out there. She lets you know that about every fight she has. But over the course of 5 rounds, and judging by how the first fight went, I don't remember how it was kind of going in terms of the scoring. Kind of like throw that out of my mind sometimes when it does end up getting, a finish there. I feel like a lot of people were kind of flip-flopped and split on how it was going, but maybe leaning Velasquez, and that's kind of why she ended up getting, along with the way it ended, why she's getting the instant rematch after only one title defense. It was just the Kiholtz one that she defended, I believe, after beating Alima. But either way, Velasquez superior striker. She can work her weapons and keep Carmouche off of her. I mean, for more of the fight than not, that's really the path to victory here. I think that's no surprise. Carmouche Gorilla, for a reason, gets a hold of you, can do some damage and finish you like in crucifix positions. So you don't want to get there again. And imagine if it does happen again. If Carmouche gets her in the crucifix again, it doesn't matter who the ref is. They're gonna let that one go till Velasquez is beat up pretty badly. So I don't have any doubts about that. But I'm very much looking forward to it. I think these are all very fun flyweight fights at Bellator 289. A good little appetizer for Ryzen 40 coming up at the end of the month. Last show for Bellator. This is the last Bellator show on their own. And then, they'll have the crossover fun on New Year's. But yeah, this is it for now. As they're what the Bantamweight tournament is also going to decide the finals. So the semifinals are happening. That's what that means. But with all that in mind, that will wrap us up here early, as of course we have recapped and previewed everything. So I appreciate those watchers who did tune in. I know our usual bunch of folk were not able to make it here this early time, which I completely understand. It is entirely my fault. It's just a mess right now, you guys. I apologize, but I appreciate those of you who did tune in live. And then if you watch this on the replay, I appreciate that greatly. Oh, so much as well. Always gonna stay up here on the WMMAnia, the MMA Mania YouTube channel. The show is WMMAnia. But yes, so with all that in mind, don't forget to visit the website for all your MMA needs. Follow us, like, share, and subscribe on all platforms out there. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss moments like these. Unless you're sleeping, then that's completely understandable. I might go back to sleep after a quick snack here or some breakfast. We'll see. But either way, follow me at DrakeRicks_ on Twitter and Instagram if you like what I'm laying down, picking up what I'm laying down. Here on the channel, we just released 2 interviews yesterday. I spoke to Larissa Pacheco, the new PFL lightweight champion, who just recently defeated Kayla Harrison, obviously, in their trilogy fight, the 2022 championship. Fun stuff there. Talking to Larissa about a plethora of things. Obviously, the Cyborg fight comes to mind. The Kayla fight, of course, recapping that. And then shout out to Alex Behunin, who did his first interview for the website with Edmund Shabazian, who's fighting this weekend at UFC 282. So you can check that out as well. And I think that's about it for now. For the shameless pluggity plugs, that there will be more on the way, as always, you guys. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you very much here at MMA Mania, wherever you are in the big wide world. Stay safe and stay sane. And I will see you next week on Tuesday again, as planned, and most likely, hoping, we'll see. It's the plan to be at regular time, 12 o'clock Pacific time, 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, the usual time. But either way, appreciate you guys oh so much. And I will see you when I see you.